Okay, good afternoon. The Shir is later Nishma Shali Melech Belevi Yitzchak Oshish Chaim and Ephraim Esther Basara Tzvi ben Shraga Tzvi Da ben Chaim Pesach Yitzchak ben Sarah Devorah bas Yitzchak Avram ben Mordechai David Reuven ben Shmuel Chana Ita bas Moshe David Chana Golda bas Yisrael Reuven ben Shmuel Chaim ben Fege Yitzchak Yaakov ben Yitzchak and Yeshua ben Shmuel Mordechai Netzach ben Rivka, Leila Nishma Zalman Lei ben Moshe, and Amichai ben Yaakov, Leila Nishmatam. Today's topic is, when is there a mitzvah to lie? But before we get to that, David, you hear the latest news from Women on the Wall. Now this is true, Women on the Wall. They want to do Birchat Kohanim, and they also want to do Brit Milah on baby girls. You didn't hear the latest? I think they're off the wall. They want to do Brit Milah on baby girls. I don't know. Anyway, all my stories are true, but some are going to happen next week. There's a week before Pesach. You hear this, Avram? Week before Pesach, Irving works for a big CPA firm. And he tells his boss, listen, I got to take off a few days. My wife needs me to do some heavy lifting for her. So the boss says, you hear this, Rivka? The boss says, listen, Irving, you know it's tax season. You're my best CPA. I just cannot afford to give you any days off to help your wife. So Irving says, gee, boss, thanks. I knew I can count on you. Avram, you hear that? Get it? Anyway, when is there a mitzvah to lie? Now, to say lies. Now, what is the halacha when you have a conflict of values? Emet, truth is a value. Bidvar sheker tirchak, the Torah says in Vayikra, Bidvar sheker tirchak, keep far away from saying any lies. But shalom bayis is also a value. When these values conflict, which value is greater, Avram? Shalom bayis or lying?
Say your wife is a great cook.
Well, even though she's not, right? Now, my ex-wife, you hear this, Elisheva, was not a good cook, but she was a very holy woman.
Very what?
Very holy woman. Because every night she would serve me a burnt offering. So I knew she was holy. Get it, David? Okay, where was I? So truth is a value, and shalom bayis is a value. When values conflict, for example, Shabbat is a value. Human life is a value. When Shabbat conflicts with human life, person's critically ill, you have to call an ambulance on Shabbos. So Shabbos is a value, and saving a human life is a value. They conflict. What do? Saving human life comes first, right? Kuach nefesh docha kol Torah kula. So today we'll be speaking about when the value of truth conflicts with the value of shalom bayit, which wins. Take an example from the Parsha of the week, Reuven. We read it yesterday. Parsha Shmini, Aaron, his two sons are struck dead in front of him. In the highlight, the Mishkan is being inaugurated, age of joy, and his joy turns to terrible tragedy. So how does Moshe Rabbeinu console him? Moshe Rabbeinu consoles him. Rashi quotes the Midrash, Omer Moshe, Aaron Achi, Aaron my brother, Achshav ro'ani, shehem gedolim imeni mimcha. Now I see that your sons, by giving their lives for the Mishkan, are holier and greater than me and you. Is that true, Elisheva? No. Was Nadav and Avihu greater than Moses and Aaron? Come on, get real. They brought strange fire. They also drank wine. And that's why they got struck dead. So how does Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest Navi who ever lived, he lies to Aaron. He says, quoting the Midrash, Aaron Achi, my brother Aaron, Achshav ani roeh, Yiddish Avram, now I see that your sons were greater than what? Than we are. Is that true? get real. So Moshe lied in order to console his brother. So we see that sometimes lying is actually a mitzvah. Rabbi Abraham, Shalom Aleichem, good to see you. So where is Moshe coming from? Moshe, the greatest Navi who ever lived, what gave him a right, Reuven, to lie and tell his brother, you know, they were so great, they were so holy, God needed them upstairs. Therefore, he took them because they're greater than me and you, and God couldn't afford to leave them down there. He misses them. So Moshe told a fib. I think it's a white lie. What right, Nechama? Were they greater than Moses and Aaron? It can't be. Come on. Moshe Rabbeinu was the Av Nevi'im. Aaron was the Kohen Gadol. These guys brought Eish Zara. The Torah said they brought alien strange fire, which God did not command them. They also drank wine. So they did.
And they spilled blood.
Shtuya Yayin, but right after that, the Torah says Eish Zara. So I'm a text man. Eish Zara Asher Lo Tziva Hashem. They brought strange fire. Whatever that strange fire was, they went against the Torah. They went against God's law, and therefore they were struck dead. And here Moses says, no, they were struck dead. They're greater than me and you. God needed them upstairs. That's definitely not true. So what right did Moses have to lie? And what does it mean for us, right? To console him, he lied. But how do you know you can do that? Well, I think he followed the boss. We find that God lied to save the shalom bayis of Abraham and Sarah. That's pretty amazing, Rivka. Did God have to lie to save the shalom bayis of Abraham and Sarah? Well, Rashi says so. Rashi says in Pashas Vayera, Sarah said, I could never have a child. My old man, he's all shriveled up. Vadoini Zaken. He's old and dried up. He could never have a child. When God reported the incident to Abraham, he changed the truth and he said that Sarah said, Vani Zakanti. I'm old and dried up. Not my hubby. Why did God change the truth? Hashem had to lie to preserve the shalom bayis of what? Abraham and Sarah, maybe they were married for 75 years. How old was she? 90. How old was he? 99, right? So Rashi's telling me if God would not have changed the truth and God would reported the incident that she said that you're old and shriveled up, Abraham would say, what? I'm old and shriveled up? I'm walking out. Right? I'm throwing you out. Who's old and shriveled up? I'll show you. So Reuben, God had to lie. It's incredible. Rashi says so, quoting a Midrash, in order to preserve the shalom bayis of Abraham and Sarah. Was Abraham and Sarah's shalom bayis so fragile that if God would not have lied, they would have had a lover's quarrel, even though she was 90 and he was 99. No spring chicken. Neither there was no spring chicken. But Rashi, the Torah says clearly, she said, Adoini Zaken. Yiddish Avram? My old man is all washed up. And God changed the truth and said, no, you're a spring chicken, I'm all washed up, Sarah. Which wasn't true. So it's pretty interesting here that the Moshe Rabbeinu followed the boss. To preserve shalom bayis, sometimes you're commanded to what? To tell a white lie? Maybe not so white, right? Maybe not so white. The Chafetz Chaim says it's a mitzvah even to say a straight out lie. Yiddish David? To preserve shalom bayis. To prevent machlokis, to prevent shame and pain, you're commanded to straight out lie. Not just shalom bayis, but different types of shalom. To save one from busha, you can lie. And therefore, I made the sheets in front of you. If you look at side number, where it says Sanhedrin. See it says Sanhedrin? Sanhedrin, the side that says Sanhedrin, David. You have that?
Yeah.
Sanhedrin, and it's underlined in yellow, Ma'aseh Rabbi Gamliel. Here it wasn't shalom bayis, it's just to save somebody from shame and pain. The great rabbis of the Talmud, they what? They lied. Rivka, you have the place? Yes. Rabbi Gamliel Sha'amar, a story of Rabbi Gamliel in which he said, awaken 7 judges for me early in the morning and come up to the attic. What are they doing in the attic, David? Footnote 3. What are they doing in the attic?
Playing cards.
No, not playing cards. Rabbi Gamliel's time, not a court convening to proclaim a leap year, met in the attic. I don't know, they had good coffee, a good coffee machine there. They had to proclaim a leap year. They didn't have any calendars, right? So he said, the greatest sages should come up to my office in the attic for coffee and danishes, and we're going to figure out a leap year. The next morning, Rabbi Gamliel woke, and he found 8 judges in the attic. Sounds like a movie. 8 judges in the attic. How many should be? 7. And he found 8 judges in the attic. You have a paper?
Yeah.
Okay.
He was 8.
Omar, no, besides him. He said, whoever ascended in my office without permission, get out of here. You don't belong here. I only wanted 7, and 8 came. So whoever came here without an invitation, please leave. What happened, Yehuda? Shmuel HaKatan got up and said, I am the one that ascended without permission, which was a lie. I am the one who ascended without permission, but I did not ascend to intercalate the month into the year as the others did. I only went to learn practical laws of how to extend the year. So I'm the oddball. I'm the guy that doesn't belong here. I just came to observe. He clearly lied because he was invited. There was another guy who crashed the party, and not to shame him, Ruvain, he lied and said that I'm the guy that came here uninvited. Rabbi Gamliel said to him what? What did he say to him? Sit, my son, sit. I know that you're making up a bubba maisa. You're not the one. Sit, my son, sit. Why? It will be fitting for each and every leap year to be extended by you. You're the most fitting of all. But the rabbi said, we only intercalate a month to figure out if it should be a leap year or not, only with judges specifically designated for that purpose. So since you were not designated, you may not participate in the proceedings, right? But actually he knew that what? That he was taking the blame for somebody else. There was someone else that was not invited, yet he got up and he lied. And he says, I'm the one that crashed the party. I like your cheese danishes and coffee up in the attic. And he lied. Huh? Now the Gemara explains, Elisheva, you see the next paragraph? The Gemara explains why did he lie, the true motivation for Shmuel's actions. V'lo Shmuel HaKatan hava. You have it, Huda? It wasn't really him. Ella inish achrina. What does that mean? Another person. Umachmas kisufei Huda avad. And only not to shame the other guy, to save the other guy from shame and embarrassment, he said that what? That he made a false statement. You hear this, Yehuda? Wow. So look at footnote 7. I don't know if you see footnote 7 there, but anyway, if the undesignated fellow had stepped forward and left, he would have been humiliated. To save him from humiliation, Shmuel HaKatan got up and lied and said that I'm the guy that's what? Not invited. So he clearly lied. Now, the Gemara cites another case. You have it, Mikimi, on top of the right side there. The Gemara cites another case in which some rabbi lied, took the blame for something he never did to save his friend from what? Embarrassment. Kihod Yosef Rabbi v'Kodorish. That happened to story Rabbi, the guy who wrote the Mishnah Chava, right? Rabbi was giving a shir, the Reach Ra Shum, and a guy forgot to brush his teeth that morning, or didn't use Listerine. And he had garlic for breakfast. And he, bad breath. He didn't take, what, chiclets? What's it called? I forgot. Samson, what? So anyway, Yiddish, Yehuda. Strange. V'reach ra shum. And Rabbi, in the middle of his speech, the guy opened his mouth to ask the question, and phew, garlic odor. Omar, there's a room full of students, Ruvain. Omar, mi sha'achol shum yetze. Rabbi said, do me a favor, any guy who ate the garlic, please get up and leave. You're disturbing the class. You're giving me a bad hair day. Bad breath day. Omad Rab Chia v'yotza. Rab Chia got up and he what? And left. Omdu kulan v'yotza. When Rab Chia got up and left, what happened, Kathy? All the other students got up and left. And Rabbi was left with what? Speaking to the guy in the mirror. Aviva, ever speak to the guy in the mirror? Yiddish? Amdu kulan v'yatsu. Amdu kulan v'yatsu. Rabbi Yaakov, this reminds me of a story. Should I tell it over?
Is the one that's going to happen?
In 1966, what happened, there was a machlokes between Rab Shor and Rabbi Yaakov Kamenetsky. It was 1966. I was there. 19 Mishmedish at the time, a machlokes between them, and Rav Shor would give a drasha. What? No. But who's going to be the Rosh Yeshiva? So I asked his son what I can tell. I was there. I'm dating myself. I was 16 years old. In 1966, I'm dating myself, okay? I asked Rabbi Yaakov's son whether I can tell over the story. He says you can tell it over. Because they're both not here anymore, so you can tell over the story. Even he didn't know this story. He wrote the book, but I told him the story later that he had added, because he didn't even know the story. He was an Itri then. This is Rabbi Benjamin Kamenetsky. So anyway, Rav Shor would give a big drasha every Shabbos morning in the yeshiva for about 300 boys, right? One Friday morning, 10 minutes before Rav Shor walks in to give the drasha, Rabbi Yaakov walks in, livid, shaking and angry. He always had a smile on his face, but this time he was livid, white, shaking with anger. And I thought I was in the Twilight Zone. He said, "B'toem nit herren, is a gazlin. B'toem nit herren." You hear this?
What is it?
Rabbi said about Rav Shor, "B'toem nit herren, is a gazlin." I don't want to translate it. So but anyway, pandemonium breaks out. I thought of the Twilight Zone. And he walks out. You hear? And he walks out. This is about 5 minutes before Rav Shor is going to give his drasha. So pandemonium breaks out, Yehuda. Pandemonium, you know. So the whole yeshiva starts piling out, leaving with their rabbi. But Rav Gertzen Zatzal, my Rosh Yeshiva, I remember we had 28 boys in our each Rebbe had his section in Beis Medrash. It's in South 3rd Street. The whole yeshiva piles out, all the Rebbeim, but Rav Gertzlin tells us, don't leave. When two great rabbis are having a feud, Sheva al Taisa Adif. Sheva al Taisa Adif. If you're going to walk out, it'll be a terrible embarrassment for Rav Shor. Better sit and do nothing. So it's amazing. The whole yeshiva was empty, the Beis Medrash, except our corner with 28 boys. I was 16 years old at the time. Rav Shor walks in, and it's like a regular Friday morning, and he gives a pilpul shir with the payas flying for an hour and a half, talking like he'd be talking for the whole Beis Medrash, totally oblivious to the fact that he's speaking to 28 boys sitting in the left corner there. And he's talking to us like making believe, like what, Shirley? The place is packed like usual. He walks out, then the whole yeshiva files back in. You hear this? So I think that's my ticket to Olam Haba, that we didn't walk out, right? Imagine to walk out. I mean, the two Rosh Yeshivas are fighting. You don't know who's right. So our Rebbe, Rav Gertzlin, you know, you had Rav Gertzlin? In your day, but in 1966, he was my Rebbe in Beis Medrash. He said, Sheval Taisa Adif. So maybe, really, that's my ticket to Olam Haba. We didn't walk out. We stood there, and he gave the shir, making believe like the whole place was packed, Yehuda. Okay? So anyway, well, we had to listen to my Rebbe. Rav Gertzlin said, don't walk out. So we had to remain. But all the other Rebbes told their students to leave.
Why did Rabbi Kamenetsky
say that when
They had a big machlokes. I don't get into what it was. A big machlokes. He felt that he's taking away from him. Rabbi Yaakov was the Rosh Yeshiva. And Rav Shaw was breathing down his neck to take over, and he didn't want to get pushed out. There was a whole... But anyway, anyway, getting back to our story over here, okay? Back in the Gemara cites another case in which someone took the blame for something he never did. You have it, Yehuda, on the right side, where it says the Gemara cites another case on top. Kihod Yosef Rebbe, we learned that, right? So they all walked out, right? They all walked out. So Amalei, back in the middle there, Rab Chia said, Amalei, the following morning, Rab Shimon, you have that in the middle of the first paragraph there? The following morning, Rab Shimon, the son of Rebbe, said to him, Sha'ar Talaba, why did you cause pain to my father with your bad breath? Why did you cause pain to my father with your bad breath? Look at note 8. You see number 8, Mikino? By eating the garlic and fouling the air. Rav Shimon apparently suspected Rabbi Chia was the culprit, and the other students left to spare him what? An embarrassment. But it wasn't so. So back in the text, Amalei Rabbi Chia said to him, Loi tehei kizos b'Yisrael. Heaven forbid I would never eat garlic before coming to the shir. It wasn't me. Right? There should be nothing left like that among the Jews. I left only to save the guilty party from what? Embarrassment. Right? So look at footnote 9. You have that, Elisheva? Rabbi Chia realized that if he left, the other students would follow in deference to him. The true culprit's identity would thus remain what? Secret, and he would save him from embarrassment. Okay? Now, next paragraph. The Gemara cites several precedents for Rabbi Chia's behavior. How did Rabbi Chia know this? To lie and make up a story to save someone from embarrassment? Rabbi Chia, Mehecha Gomerle, the last paragraph on the right side. The Gemara cites several precedents. You have that, Yehuda. Where did Rabbi Chia learn to do this? That you're allowed to lie to spare the guilty party shame? Rab Meir. Yiddish Yehuda, he learned from Rab Meir. The Tanya, Rab Meir, the great Rab Meir Balanes. Kani, remember him, Rab Meir Balanes? Very strange story. You want to see it inside? You know? Rab Meir Balanes, Maisa B'isha Achad, Yiddish Yehuda. There was a story about a certain woman, Shebata Lebeis Medish of Rab Meir. She came into the yeshiva of Rab Meir, and she told him, Amrullah, she said to him, Rebbe, Echad Mikem Kitshani Bebia. One of you in the study hall has betrothed me through the act of what? Sexual cohabitation. Yiddish.
What?
Rated X over here, what? There are 3 ways you can marry a woman, right? Either giving her money or a ring, either giving her a document, or doing the sex act with her. Don't try this at home. Today we only do it by giving a ring, but in the days of the Talmud you can do it that way. So she said to him, Rebbe, one of your students did the act of be on me, but he didn't do the second stage. That was the erison, but he walked out on me. He didn't complete the marriage. He married me through bia, through cohabitation, but he didn't what? So therefore, I want a get. Let this guy come and give me a get or fulfill his obligations to me. Right? He left me holding the bag, literally. Right? So let one of the students who did this, let him come up and what?
Give me a get.
Omad Rab Meir, Yehuda, v'kosav la get, v'notan la, amdu kulam, v'notna la get. So what happened? Rab Meir wrote her a get, and all the 300 boys in the yeshiva wrote her a get to cover up the identity of what? Of this guy who did it, who left her what? I think it's called high and dry. So you see that sometimes it's a mitzvah to what? To lie, to cover up. Now we have other cases like this. The Gemara in Ksubis, you don't have it on your, we'll finish with the paper now. Now it's my turn. The Gemara in Ksubis says, a person marries a woman, and she looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. Remember her? What? She looks like the Wicked Witch of the West, and the chassan says to his friends, isn't she beautiful? Isn't she gorgeous? And she looks like the Wicked Witch of the East. So you're supposed to say, Kala no v'chasoda. She's Miss Universe. Number 10. Number 10. Kala v'chasoda. Even though she's ugly and decrepit looking, you're supposed to lie and say what? Kala no v'chasoda. She's beautiful and she's 10 plus. Even if it's a lie, you're supposed to what? Praise, right? In order not to hurt the feelings of what? Of the chassan. Say, no, she looks like the Wicked Witch of the West. Even though it's true. Huh? But it's true. Aviva, you have to what?
In his eyes, she's beautiful.
In his beauty's in the eyes of the beholder, but you know she's not beautiful. Let's say she has a hunchback. She has a hunchback of the Notre Dame. You're supposed to say, Kala no v'chasoda, even though it's a lie. Even though it's a lie. And it's just amazing that in Parshas Vayetze, you don't have it on your sheet, when Rachel was barren, she couldn't have a child. And when she had Yosef, she said, Osaf Hashem charpati, God has removed my shame. There's a very bizarre Rashi there, David. When Yosef HaTzadik was born, Rachel said, Osaf Hashem charpati, God has removed my shame. So Rashi says there, the entire time where a woman doesn't have a child, something goes wrong in the house. The computer is broken, the chocolate ice cream is missing, right? The husband blames the wife. You broke my computer, you ate up my ice cream, right? Right? But now, says Rashi, now Rachel says, now that I have a child, and Yaakov comes home from a hard day's work, and he looks in the freezer, who ate my Ben and Jerry's? Bincha. Who ate my chocolate brownies? Bincha. Who broke my computer? Bincha. Even though it's not true. That's why Rachel wanted a child? No. To have, but that's what Rashi says. Rashi HaKadosh says that. Mi shavrat hakeli bincha. Mi ochalat hateinim bincha. That's why Rachel wanted a child, David. Rashi says that.
That's very strange.
Strange Rashi, right?
Strange Rashi. Rashi is a 60.
To preserve shalom bayis, you can lie and blame the little baby. Now that's the only reason Rachel wanted a child, David? Come on. What's the message, Connie? That's not the only reason Rachel wanted a child. She wanted a child to carry on a legacy, someone to teach. But this is also a benefit. I'll take that too. Just to preserve shalom bayis, when there's a child in the house, there's less friction. I'll take that also. That's not the only reason she wanted a child, but it's also a reason. And therefore Rashi says, Osav Hashem cherpati, now she has someone to what? To blame. That's what, now Rashi's Kodesh Kodashim, and Rashi's not making it up. This is a medrash. So this is a medrash. So no. Not in his parish. No. So that's the message. That to preserve shalom bayis, you can sometimes blame the child in order to preserve shalom bayit. And in the parsha, as we said, Moshe Rabbeinu lied when he consoled Aaron by saying that what? That Nadav and Avihu were what? Both greater than him. Now, here's halacha l'maisa, Avram, you got to hear this. The Ravagi Yosef in his Sefer Yabia Omer, Rabbi Yaakov, Yeridea chapter 32. Listen to this. The case of a woman Bal Tshuva. A woman Bal Tshuva, when she was not frum, she was Runaround Sue. Remember Runaround Sue? Runaround Sue, and she was pregnant before she got married. Now she became frum, real Haredi. She married a Haredi boy. And she had a baby boy. Now, Nechama, she has a dilemma. She was pregnant before she met hubby, when she was what? A wild and crazy girl. She had a child. She gave him up for adoption. Now, she's very really from, a Baal Tshuva. Married this Haredi boy. They had a baby boy. She has a dilemma. The husband wants to do what? Pidyon haben. The husband wants to do Pidyon haben because he thinks what? He didn't know that she was runaround Sue. She went to Rabbi Yosef crying. Do I have to tell my husband the truth? That we cannot make a Pidyon haben, it's a charade. And there's more than a charade here. Because if she doesn't tell the husband the truth, she's causing her husband to make 2 bracha levatolis. Taking God's name in vain twice. Because the father has to make a shechiyanu and a pidyon haben. So not only is he making a charade, by not telling him the truth, Chava, she is causing her husband to what? Make 2 bracha levatolis. And making a blessing in vain, says Rambam, you transgress loisisa shebakecha lashav. You're not allowed to say God's name in vain. One of the 10 commandments. The Rambam rules that you say a blessing in vain, you're taking God's name in vain. So this woman had a terrible dilemma. Tell her husband the truth, save him from making blessings in vain, but he might walk out on her and give her a get. Is he obligated to say, or should he lie and say nothing? Says the great Rav Avadia Yosef Zechet Tzadik Levracha. Don't say anything. Let him make 2 blessings in vain to save her the shame and save the marriage. You hear this? Kovet habriot. Now, why did he say that to her? He said it to her because Ein Adam Mesim Atzmai Rasha. How do you translate that? By saying that she had a child out of what? Ein Adam Mesim Atzmai Rasha, Yehuda. I don't believe you, said Rabbi Yosef. You're telling me you were run around Sue? That's a sin to have sex before marriage. A Jewish law says you're not permitted to make yourself a Rasha. I don't believe you. She went on with the charade, pidyon haben, and the husband made 2 brachas. He told her to lie. You hear? Shalom bayis is better. Shalom bayis is better. She didn't lie, she doesn't tell the truth. Ain't other Mason Atzma Rasha. One more case. This is Rabbi Yosef. In the Igris Moshe, don't ask, don't tell. In the Igris Moshe, Ramosha finds him to do the chuppah. You know, he's beside the Kiddushin. The mother is hysterical. The mother of the bride is hysterical. She has to speak to Ramosha privately before the chuppah, Yehuda. She's crying hysterically. Ramosha goes into a room, calms down. What is it? The mother says, I have to confess, this kala is a mamzeret. I had sex with a traveling salesman. This is not my husband's child. It's a child of the traveling salesman. And I can't let it go through because you can't marry a mamzeret. The chassan is a Jewish boy. It's again, I don't want it on my conscience. It's prohibited to marry a mamzeret. I don't want it on my conscience.
He was a traveling salesman, though.
He's traveling. I'm a traveling man, made a lot of stops all over the world. It was a Jewish traveling salesman. Good point, Nikimia. He made a very good point because it was a Goyish traveling salesman. It wouldn't be a mamzer. It was a Jewish traveling salesman. Nikimia, she knows her stuff. The Jewish travel. So it's a mamzeret. I don't want it on my conscience. So Ramosha said, shh, shh, zugunisht, zugunisht, ein adam mesim atzmai rasha. David, I don't believe you, you're lying to me. But Rabbi, swear, You're lying to me. Because you're saying you had sex with a traveling salesman while you're married to the husband. You're making yourself a rasha. Ein adam mesim atzmai rasha. I don't believe you. Shut up. The wedding, let's go to the chuppah.
Weren't they great rabbis?
Great rabbis. Now, where is the precedent, Ruvain? Rabbi Yosef, I have a precedent. I'm going to have God's name in vain. I have a precedent. The Maisa Saita. A man suspects her husband of adultery.
Wife.
I'm testing you, see if you're awake. Although today you don't know. Today, you know, mixed up world today. A man suspects his wife of adultery. He takes her to the Beis Hamikdash, right? And what do? The Kohen writes the parsha of the Sota on parchment, and then he erases it with God's name in it in the love potion, number 9 there. Erasing God's name is a terrible sin. And yet God commands the Kohen to do it. Why? To preserve Shalom Bayis. To preserve Shalom Bayis, God says, erase my name into this potion in order that the husband's suspicions should what? Evaporate. So Rabbi also said, I'm following God. God says, erase my name to preserve Shalom Bayis, so I'm allowing you not to say anything, to have your husband say God's name in vain. Because Shalom Bayis is so what? Important. Yiddish? Shalom Bayis? So I have a kasher, Chanoch. The wife says to her husband, listen, tonight I want to have Chinese food in a tray for Chinese restaurant, otherwise we have no Shalom Bayis. Avram, you hear my question? How far do you take this? The wife says to the husband, listen, I want you to wear a shatnez suit. If you're not going to wear the shatnez suit, no Shalom Bayis. Can he wear the shatnez suit to the Chinese restaurant? No! I want you to wear the shatnez suit and take me out to a treifat Chinese restaurant, otherwise there's no Shalom Bayis. Or on Shabbos yet. Or flick a bick on Shabbos. Flick or tear toilet paper on Shabbos, otherwise there's no Shalom Bayis. David, forget about it. Sorry, honey, we have to get a get. So the Meiri, the great Rishon, asked, Ma nishtana, Yehuda? How come for all other Aveirot, if the wife says, listen, Shalom Bayis, you got to eat pig or wear shatnez, Chalila, you have to divorce her. Ma nishtana, when it's what? When it comes strictly to a Shalom Bayis issue, there God says what? Erase my name in the Sota potion in order to preserve Shalom Bayis. That's a terrible sin to erase God's name. That sin you have to do, but no other sins. Avram, ma nishtana ben limchok shem Hashem. But other averot, if the wife says do it or no Shalom Bayis, you're not allowed to do it. You have to get a get. What's the difference, Reb Yaakov? Says the Meiri. Limchok Shem Hashem is different. Why? Because the name of God is Shalom. One of God's names is what? Shalom. So for Shalom Bayis, the erasing of God's name is actually a tikkun for Shem Hashem, which is Shalom. You hear? The only exception is when you can lie or erase God's name is when it comes strictly to a Shalom Bayis with the Shalom Bayis, not with no outside factor. Because one of God's names is what? Shalom. So by lying for Shalom Bayis or erasing God's name in the potion of the Sota, you're fulfilling God's name, which God's name is what? Is Shalom. Right? Shalom Bayit. So Shalom Bayit is so great that, why do you light candles Friday night, Chava?
Shalom Bayit.
Where do the Goyim get a candlelight dinner, Connie? I'm telling you, they got everything from us. Look in the Rambam, Hilchos Shabbos, chapter 30. Ruvain, you can look it up. Candlelight dinner, the Rambam says, Friday night the woman has to light candles. Not just that, he says, I'm in the mood for love. The Rambam says that Friday night there's a mitzvah to be with your wife. So the candles have a romantic dinner, This puts the couple in the mood. Isn't that incredible? That's why lighting candles on Friday night, the Rambam says a double mitzvah. It's Kavod Shabbos and Einik Shabbos.
Is that why some people make early Shabbos?
That's it. That's right. Now, the Rambam is very precise in his language, Yehuda. Mitzvahs is either Kavod Shabbos or Einik Shabbos. It's not both. Lighting candles on Friday night is both Kavod Shabbos and Einik Shabbos. It's a twofer. It's a twofer. So lighting candles on Friday night puts you in a romantic mood, said Rambam. It enhances the lovey-dovey relationship, and there's an extra mitzvah to be with your wife on Friday night. So the whole idea of a candlelight dinner of romanticism comes from what? Everything comes from Am Yisrael. So the lady lights the candles. Now, if the person is not married, Chanoch, then the man should light the candles, buddy, right? But if a person is married, it should be the wife. Why should it be the wife? Why should it be the wife? Because the Shalom Bayis depends what? Depends on the wife, right? She has to know how to talk to the husband. Because she has the Bina Yetera. She has the Bina Yetera, right? She has to know how to talk to the husband. So therefore, the Iker Shalom Bayis depends on her. And to symbolize that, therefore what? It's the wife, not the husband who lights. But again, if you're not married, or your wife is not well, then you have to do the mitzvah of what? Of lighting candles. And it's the only mitzvah the Rambam calls Kavod Shabbos and Einik Shabbos. What's the difference? Between Kavod Shabbos and Einik Shabbos. Kavod Shabbos is something you do on Friday for Shabbos. You go shopping to the co-op, you do sponja. David, can you imagine you're cleaning the toilets on Friday and you're doing the mitzvah of what? Kavod Shabbos. Isn't that incredible? A Jew can clean the toilets, and it's a mitzvah. If he does it on Friday, the Kavod Shabbos. So Kavod Shabbos means things you do on Friday for Shabbos. Taking a shower, making sponja, going shopping. Things that you enjoy on Shabbos is Einik Shabbos. Lighting candles is a twofer, because you're lighting the candles what? Before Shabbos. But you're enjoying the light and the mood. I'm in the mood for love on Shabbos. So therefore, candles on Friday night is a twofer. Says Rambam, not me. It's Kavod Shabbos, it's also Einik Shabbos, yes?
There's an acronym for that in Hebrew. Samach Kuf Samach. Sidurim, Kiniyot, and Sponja.
Really? You just made that up?
No, I heard it when I came out.
Are you serious? Sex?
The first Hebrew I learned.
You're not pulling my leg.
What I put your
Samach, Kuf Samach. Sponja, Kiniyot, Sidurim.
That's Friday.
That's just
What's
incredible.
that spell?
Spells. It's not a joke. It's just incredible. What? What? Sponja, Kinuyim, Sidurim. Sponja. What do you do on Friday? Samach, Kuf, Samach. Sponja, right? Sponja. Kuf, Kniyot. You go to the co-op, or Big, or you go to Osherad, and then the Sidurim. You masader the house. So acronym, Samach, Kuf, Samach. Yehuda, what's the acronym? Boy, I'm glad I came today. That's pretty amazing. What? Boy. Anyway, so you see, the Torah teaches the value of Shalom Bayis. The book of Eov was written. Why was the book of Eov written? Eov suffered terribly, right? Eov suffered terribly. And the friends came to him and they told him that there is no suffering, no punishment without sin. You must have done something wrong. You must have done something wrong, otherwise you wouldn't be suffering like this. And the friends were right. But God rebuked them sharply. God rebuked them sharply. They were right. But a guy is suffering, you're telling him you're suffering because of sin? You're not allowed to say that. You're not allowed to say that. So the book of Job was written, says the Gemara of Babasa, page 15, that when a person is suffering, you're not allowed to tell him even though you know the cause. That's what the friend said, you deserve it. You must have done something wrong. And he railed against God, and he raged against God. And the friends are defending God and condemning him. So God comes to the friends, all prophets, and you would think that God would say to the friends, thank you for what? For defending God and giving it to Eov. Just the opposite. God was very severely criticizing the friends. How dare you speak lies about my friend Job? You hear? But he said, what? God, he's raging against you, God. And we're defending you. When a person is suffering, whatever he says, it's okay to be upset with God. You know that? Yes. God is big enough to take it. It's incredible. So instead of defending the friends who defend God, God condemns and rebukes the friends and defends what? Eov, even though Eov raged against God. When a person is suffering in pain, you're supposed to, whatever it takes to, like Moshe Rabbeinu did to his brother Aaron, to lie and to say what? Your sons were even greater than me and you. It's a powerful lesson here that to protect someone's feelings, you're supposed to even say a lie and not to cause him shame and pain. There's an amazing halacha. Lo yaleinu, when a person's an onan, you hear this, Rabbi Yaakov? Lo yaleinu, a person's an onan, he loses one of his 7 relatives. On the day of death, before the burial, a person is not allowed to do any positive mitzvahs. You know that? Yes. Right. You can't bench, you can't put on tefillin, you can't make a bracha on a glass of water. You know that halacha? Not allowed to make any. You can't go out and eat pig. That you can't do, but you're not allowed to do no positive mitzvahs. You're not allowed to do no positive mitzvahs. You can't make a bracha on a glass of water. You have to eat without making a mitzi, without washing. Why? Beautiful. Says Rav Soloveitchik. Rav Soloveitchik says that God, who invented human emotions, says, God says, the person's upset with me. He's angry with me. I'm giving him a pass. Don't do any mitzvahs. You're upset, you're angry. It's okay to be angry with the boss. And the mitzvahs you do, you won't mean it anyway. Therefore, I don't allow you to do any mitzvot. Vent your anger. You just, Connie? How much God loves us. Right? Incredible. And that's the halacha. Only after the person is buried, then the person can what? Do mitzvot. And some say that even after he's buried, you still can't put on tefillin the same day. That's a big machlokus. Right? But other mitzvahs, some say after the burial you can do, but before the burial you're not allowed to do any positive mitzvah. Rav Soloveitchik said what Buddy said, because God knows you're angry with him, and he can take it. God has very wide shoulders, and therefore God says, don't do any mitzvot. So we see that the whole Torah was given only for what? The last Mishnah in Avot. The Torah was given to make peace between man and his friend. And who's his best friend? His wife, or Hashem, right? Right? So the Iker is what? Is Shalom Bayit, and we should be considerate to each other, know how to talk to each other, and not to cause each other what? Pain and suffering. To be extra careful how to speak, right? To be sensitive, right? Judaism is sensitivity to the other. To be sensitive to the other. And if you want to give somebody musar, it's amazing. Yaakov Avinu, 3,700 years old, Yaakov Avinu is on his way to Syria. Remember, he's going from Beersheba to Ocean Parkway, right? And in Syria, a lot of Syrians on Ocean Parkway. And he sees shepherds. Shepherds are stealing the boss's time. Shepherds, they should be working, and they're goofing off. And he says to them, Achai, my brothers. So we need to know a conversation that Yaakov had with some shepherds 37 years ago near a well somewhere in Ocean Parkway. He says, my brothers, the day is still long. Why are you goofing off? Why do we need to know what Yaakov was telling some shepherds? The Torah is God's GPS. So my Rebbe Rapam Zatzal said, before you want to give somebody musar, you have to say, Achai. He ain't heavy, he's my brother. If you can't treat the person like my brother and speak to him like a brother, don't say anything to him. Only when Yaakov spoke to them as a brother to a brother, in a loving way, was he allowed to rebuke them. But if you can't make the person feel like a brother, how dare you give rebuke? It's counterproductive. So first he said, Achai. And then he what? Gently said, listen, it's not right. You're stealing the boss's time, my brothers. Not the right thing to do. And they accepted it. But if he would have yelled at them, forget about it. Right? So you want to rebuke someone, you have to treat him like a brother. Remember that song? He ain't heavy, he's my brother. But if you can't make him feel like that, then don't rebuke. It's worse than doing nothing. Thank you very much.